from up there? Enough of that. Thank you. Okay, so welcome to the press briefing with the newly elected officials of the EFF, otherwise known as the top 6, were elected last night, and the organization at the moment is in their capable leadership or in their capable hands. So I'm just going to introduce them. I know you know them very well because you all wrote their names in full. So next to me is the Treasurer General, Ompile Maudwe, and the next to her is the National Chairperson, Veronica Mente. And then on the extreme left is the Deputy Secretary General, Popi Mailula. Next to her is the Secretary General, Mzimkulu, Marshal Dlamini, and then next to him is the Deputy President, Floyd Shivambu, and next to the Deputy President is the Commander-in-Chief and President, Julius Malema. I'm now going to give him an opportunity to do a brief statement. Really, the purpose here is for you guys to interact with them on anything that is bothering you. Mr. President, the media is bothered. Please heal them.
Thank you very much, members of the media, newly elected officials, fellow South Africans. I want to take this opportunity to congratulate the newly elected officials of the EFF, and once more congratulate the delegates of the Second National People's Assembly for their discipline and for their robustness in terms of engagement in plenary and throughout the conference. We were, however, briefed about an incident that took place yesterday at the dining hall where security personnel discharged pepper spray on delegates, and our Secretary General, who's also head of security, attended to matters urgently. And they took people to hospital, and they were with them until this morning. The national chair left around 6 o'clock this morning after the last patient was released. And then 8 o'clock, we were told that there's 3 more that went in. But the brief we have now is that they are all fine. So it was an isolated incident, which is regrettable. The gentleman in question has been released, but our security personnel is still here, and we have impressed upon them to really behave very well, and they must not be overexcited and be carried away by emotions. If there is a situation which they find themselves in a very difficult situation, they must communicate with us so that we can from time to time advise on how they should handle those matters. What happened yesterday was not communicated to us. So ordinarily, when there is a problem or a challenge, the security personnel will inform Commissar Marshal then as a head of security, who will then advise how the matters must be handled. Yeah, but it didn't happen, so that's what we experienced. Everything is still in order. We're proceeding very well. We have all reports adopted. We've presented organizational redesign now. which is going to be the first part of the discussions in the commissions. All commissions are going to discuss organizational redesign, or what we call building the organization. Then after exhausting that part, then they will go into their specific topics, be it battle of ideas or financing the revolution or any other thing like that. And then from there, we'll begin a process of receiving the reports from commissions. But before we break to commissions, we'll take nominations for additionals. Our additionals are 35. All provinces have made a submission that we should increase additionals to 40. So that debate will take place for constitutional amendment before we take nominations of additionals. And then once agreed, IMSA will now take over and take names for additionals. I think basically that's what you want me to deal with, unless there's something I'm leaving out. Members of the media do not have any concerns. I didn't hear anyone complaining that they are being ill-treated or local bars run out or anything like that, nothing. So we're fine, we're cruising nicely. Yeah.
Thank you, President. I'm now inviting you guys to interact with the Presidium. I'll identify hands, possibly one round.
And I saw Stolle there in plenary sleeping throughout.
Yeah, he's a sleepist.
And then Kathy, where's Kathy? Kathy woke him up. And Stolle went immediately to make an analysis of a session he didn't.
Okay. You'll be number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7. You have been numbered, please remember. Number 8, number 9, number 10, number 11, number 12.
No, the way you are doing it is wrong. Take these ones first,
Oh,
then
must
we'll go
divide.
that side.
Okay, let's do that. Come again. So you'll be number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. Sister, you're not interested anymore? Uh-huh. I was starting in front. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. You'll be number 5, 6, and 7. In that order.
My name is Malungelo Boy from Newsroom Africa. I just want to find out, regarding the members of the top 6 that did not make it, is there a plan for them, perhaps, to include them in the party, future plans? The second question is regarding what came out in the plenary while the leadership was interacting with the delegates. One of the things that came out quite strongly from some members was the issue of political education, and it seems it is a concern to them. Does the party have a plan, really, or does it have, a political education for the members? And one of the things that, one delegate was saying that this is needed on the ground. Is there a plan for that? Thank you.
Thank you. Number 2.
I'm Sandile Mbech from the SABC. Yesterday, in your political report, you spoke about the elections having to take place, and then you said, some of the people who may not be elected, you will see them, so they will start talking badly about the party. Right now, you have the new leadership. Of course, you've been re-elected together with your deputy president. So are you feeling that kind of the warning that you issued to say, because when people are not elected, they tend to then perhaps feel they're not wanted and then they turn against the party. Having a new leadership now, 4 of them in the top 6, I know there's still other people to be elected. So are you feeling that resentment perhaps from those who may not have made it?
Thank you. Next.
Thabo Shabalala, Power FM News. CIC, yesterday you spoke about, in your political report, you spoke about the fees must fall students and how the EFF assisted to get some of them pardoned and some of them released from jail. Kaya Tekeshe is still in jail. What is the new leadership going to do to put pressure on the justice system or the Minister of Justice to pardon him or release him from prison? Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Snatemba, Jacaranda FM. Just 2 questions. Top 6 is 50-50 when it comes to gender parity. How will that maybe translate with lower structures moving forward? And do you think that the fact that there are more women coming up will help with regard to women memberships that you had complained about earlier on, that it's kind of lacking, and your words were it's pathetic? Number 2, are you happy with how the conference is unfolding so far?
Thank you. Number 3.
It's Naomi Long from Jacaranda FM. Austin Pile, I would like to get your opinion since you worked for Transnet. Abdi Malema yesterday said that there's an orchestrated plan to destabilize state-owned enterprises. As someone who worked at Transnet, did you feel that pressure, or as someone who comes from that sector, I would like to get your ideas on that. And Abdi Malema, when we were at the conference now, there were a lot of people, especially from Free State, who are complaining that they feel like they're not getting support from top structures, and as we are heading to the local elections, there might be issues, they feel like they might lose, or they're not properly represented. I just want to know, what is the EFF's plan to mitigate that situation?
Yes, next.
My question's been asked, sir.
That's excellent. If you're covered, that would be great.
Lisa Gatadwa from News 24. Congratulations to the new leadership. I must say, just as a footnote, that I hope that this leadership will be more available to the media than the old one. I want to ask 3 questions to you, CIC, on one of the points that were made during the discussions you had at plenary, and that was about organizational deployment committees. You must have clear organizational deployment committees. I just wanted to find out if this is something, obviously you can't preempt what the resolutions would be, but is this something that would be one of the talking points in the discussions that will happen, in the commissions, sorry, rather. Also, CIC, I was looking at you throughout the nominations last night, and you were stone-faced. You really had a poker face, and I think that was deliberate on your part. But I wanted to ask, given that we have been speculating on who you wanted to be part of your top 6, are you happy with the composition that you have in this top 6? Your reaction also to your former TG, or Magdalene Munsemi, she's made a suggestion that there needs to be an integrity commission that is formed to hold you as the leadership accountable. I think given that there are allegations against you with the VBS saga and several others, do you think that this is a feasible and viable option?
Last one.
All right, thank you. I'm Belana Pakhadi from Newsroom.
I didn't understand the Magdalene question.
She's
Is it Magdalene or Leanne?
Magdalene.
Magdalene Munsami.
Where did she make such a remark?
I think it was Power FM, if I'm correct.
Today?
Today.
Okay.
All right. I'm Belana Pakhari from Newsroom Africa. This question is directed to the new SG, Marshal Dlamini. Looking from outside in, was there perhaps loopholes from the new political party leadership that you wish to close in on? And what do you think you should be your immediate attention, if you think there's any kind of loopholes that you think should be attended to, either from recommendations from the SG's report or anything that you would like to be in your direct attention immediately?
Thank you, President.
Thank you very much. We have not experienced any animosity from the former officials of the EFF. If anything, we've been working together since. And this morning we're together, and they came to even answer the questions in relation to the reports they've presented. So yeah, there's absolutely no problem. My point was coming from the experiences we had before of people who are extremely revolutionary and happy, and when asked to leave positions of responsibility, they become something else we don't know. So my message was not necessarily directed to any official. It was just a general message, and it's still early to detect those things because we're still going to elections of additionals. We don't have any plans for any former official, so those who are available, they will avail themselves for additional members, and the conference will decide if they want to put them into the central command team of the EFF. The political education does not emanate from the plenary, it comes from my report. So like Setola, if people read, because Tola says here the whole night, you'll realize that the political education comes from my report. And the delegates were saying, we agree with the president that there must be, an institution dedicated to political education. So we fully agree on that point. It will be further canvassed in the commissions on how do we practically implement it. Are we going to do a school? Are we going to have a political commissar or anything of that sort? Yeah. Khaya Tekeshe's lawyers are our lawyers. So they come from the EFF. Vikas, who is his attorney, comes from Ian Levitt attorneys. Ian Levitt attorneys are they are on retainer of the EFF. And Ngugai Toby, you all know it's obvious. So we are now talking to Lawrence Rhodes, who is a senior counsel specializing in crime, to join the team of Khaya Tekeshe so that we can try and find some way of getting him out of prison as soon as possible. Myself and the Minister of Justice have had discussions about Khaya and what are the possible avenues we can explore to ensure that he gets out of prison. I've been to prison. I've been to prison to visit Khaya Tekeshe, and we are having constant discussions. Vuyani Pambu goes almost every week on behalf of the organization, assigned with that responsibility to check what is the situation. So even when he was deteriorating, we are the ones who contacted the psychologist at VETS, and the correctional service said the psychologist is not contracted to them and therefore cannot be allowed. We contacted the family, and then it became worse and worse to a point where he was admitted. Even when he went to the hospital, we were fully involved as an organization, so we are helping. There is no 50-50 in the officials of the EFF in terms of the constitution. So even if you wanted to apply it at lower structures, there are 5, so it can be 50-50. It's practically impossible. So here is not by constitutional design, it's by the delegates realizing the need to empower women and starting to give them more responsibility so that we don't just, talk about it, but we actually actualize it in our own structures. Am I happy about the conference? I'm more than happy. This is what we had anticipated. And the type of conduct we are experiencing here is so overwhelming. And if we continue like this, we're guaranteed that we'll take over. I've never worked for Transnet, so Umpile will talk about Transnet. I don't know what you mean. She said I was doing what? I was not smiling or something.
You were impassive.
What is stone-faced?
It's passive.
So I should have smiled.
Not showing emotion. Not showing emotion.
Yeah, that's leadership. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing to laugh about or to cry about. It's democracy in action. So the first thing I thought of was, after accepting the nomination, perhaps I should leave and go and sit in the lounge. But on the second thought, I thought it was going to be a bad thing. So I must just sit there and allow the whole thing to continue. And I deliberately didn't want to raise my hand for this or that one. Because when you are a leader, you reach a point where you have to prevail over everyone. And you can't be seen to be, taking sides. I was accused that I actually give delegates a sign, or when they vote, Hashra, is not here. She said to me, yeah, we look at you and we know when you do like this or that, you are giving delegates signs. So that's why I just decided to fold my arms and look forward, so that no one starts having things running in their heads that when he scratches his head, it means now is the time, or anything of that sort. So I just said, let me just sit like this and allow this thing to continue, and I did exactly that. So it doesn't mean I'm not happy with the outcome. We are supporting lower structures. It's practically impossible. This country is too big. That's why we need to politicize and capacitate the provinces and the regions to help us to support the branches and give the branches thorough political education and give them programs of action. One of the delegates there says, we want to work, but we have no idea of what we need to do and all of that. And like I said yesterday, majority of them are joining politics for the first time. So they are right. So political education, but also this renewed mandate of the leadership will require the leadership to be full-time on the ground and capacitate lower structures, because we are still at a formative stage. The deployment policy, it was raised. They will deal with it in the commissions. Recommendations will be made. But every time we go to elections, we outline, we give out guidelines of who qualifies to stand and what are the processes to be followed for the person to serve in the council, legislature, or parliament. I can't comment on Maggie's thing because I didn't hear. I don't even know the context, and I don't know why Maggie was interviewed about us. I will understand with scholars and analysts. So unless Maggie has assumed that role now of being an analyst, and I'm not even sure if Maggie is a member of the EFF or she has gone back to the ANC. And therefore, if she has gone back to the ANC, she has no business with the EFF real. If she wanted to make such an input, she should have stayed and come here and make that input. But I really don't know. We entertain proposals from our members, and our members have been doing exactly that. Umpile?
Thank you, President. So the issue of Transnet, you asked your question, but relating to the rest of the SOEs. So I'm going to start with Transnet, and I'll zoom into what they're doing with the rest of the SOEs. So in Transnet, they've got a big fleet of locomotives and wagons. They've got 75,000 wagons, 2,500 locomotives. They're currently building a 1064, which is on the news on the Zondo Commission. Now, with that big asset base, it means it needs to be supported. You need a commodity to be moved. If you can't move commodity in country, then you need to stretch your arms beyond the borders of South Africa. And that's what we've been doing at Transnet Engineering, trying to reach out to the rest of the continent. Until Jamnandas came, and when Jamnandas came, he literally squashed all the strategy of entering into Africa. Literally, they can't go outside the borders of South Africa to go and look for business out, which means that they will forever be basically being used, government being used to loot our minerals in the country for free, for white monopoly capital. So what that will do is it will create crisis in transit because they will not be able to sustain themselves. Railways is a very highly maintained environment. So you can't have an asset base that needs to be maintained highly and you've got no income. So they are creating a situation that will lead to the ESCOM situation, to SAA situation. We said, I'm in the portfolio committee of DPE, and we had the Director General of DPE coming to present to us. Literally all the SOEs, they received disclaimer reports, they received qualified reports. So they create this chaos such that it makes it easy for Jamnandas to just literally sell it to the hands of white monopoly capital. What they're doing to SAA, what they're doing to Dinel, they're also doing it to the diamond mining company. We had the committee 2 weeks back, the CFO, who's a young Indian woman, came to tell us that if there's no cash injection in 2020 February, literally that must close. So it's a strategy of Jamnandas. We are not surprised. And yeah, so the CIC was correct in this analysis that they are literally wanting to create instability in the SOE so they can sell it off. Thank you.
SG.
Thank you, President. So the main objective of the NPA is that the leadership must come and account and take new mandate as it outlined in our constitution. So the loopholes, if there are any, is what is being deliberated in plenary and in commissions. And they will be adopted as resolutions. So as the office of the SGO is to take those resolutions and go and implement them without questioning them. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Thank you.
National Chair, just say something. I think the intention is to hear everyone speaking. So just say something.
Thank you, President Molweni. Now, the only thing I could talk to President is the issue of the support from the top structures. Branches of the EFF, they are all learning. The regions and the provinces are aligned in terms of the constitution. And therefore, this kind of a conference gives us a mandate that we must go and monitor them very closely to develop activities and programs that will run on a daily basis, because our branches, they meet, at least they must be meeting bi-monthly. And if that then happens, our organization is going to have a life of its own from the branch level. So if we keep that monitoring tool at close range, then we are going to have a very good organization. Thank you.
DSG.
Thank you very much, President. As most of the delegates in the Assembly have alluded and have spoken in terms of them needing political education, and the Commander-in-Chief has spoken that measures and programs will be implemented very soon. And we're also looking in terms of discipline in the organization, because as members of the EFF, it is our duty to always uphold the Constitution and abide by the code of the conduct of the EFF. Thank you.
DP.
Thank you very much, Chair. So we're going to go to commissions later on to deliberate on policy issues. It's 8 commissions, so we'll deliberate on the economy, on building state capacity, on land and agrarian reform, and what should practically happen to build a socialist future. So that is the program that is going to come out of here. I think qualitatively, we will produce one of the best outcomes of any conference that has happened in South Africa in terms of the immediate challenges and what is to be done. So I think like if you were to look into the discussion documents and some of the policy proposals, you can already detect in the political report and the organizational report, you can already detect that the outcomes of this second National People's Assembly will go a long way in improving the lives of the people of South Africa, because it's well thought recommendations and policies that are going to be produced by this People's Assembly. Thank you, President.
That's your top 6, South Africa. Over to you, Mbuyiseni.
Let's get the second round this side. You'll be number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8, number 9, number 10, number 11. No, don't talk. I didn't point you.
Which one?
Number 1.
He did.
I did.
I knew you were going to want a dialogue. Let's keep to the program. Thank you. Number 1.
He's got a mic.
I'll come back to you, Busi and Cecile.
He's got a mic. CD, he's got a mic. When I will from my go.
Speak, Chief.
Okay. My name is Apiwet de Klerk from the Sunday Times. My question is on the DOR. I hear you saying it's an isolated incident. It may be for this conference, but a number of major EFF events, there have been complaints about the DOR, how it treats the members of the EFF. It seems as if you have not managed to deal with them and teach them how to relate to your own members. And secondly, because of that, aren't you afraid that your voters out there would fear you that the day you take over government, the security forces would be used that way to deal with them? Thank you.
Yes, next.
Thank you. I greet you all in the name of Kaiser Chiefs.
Thank you, Declare.
My name is Zingisa from the Sunday Times as well. Come on.
Are you from Kaiser Chiefs Media?
Yeah, maybe. Mr. J.S. Malema, first of all, my question is, are you happy with being elected unopposed to the point that no one even dared nominate anyone else, and the kind of perception and message that it communicates out there, about, the kind of leadership that you are implementing in the EFF? Others are already talking. There's been a lot of cult. There's been a lot of talk about dictatorship. Don't you think that this perpetuates that kind of public perception that is already being there? Secondly, also on the election of the leaders there at the top table, do you believe that the top 6 as is now has got the complementary skill sets, strengths, and weaknesses that are better than the previous top 6 to take the EFF to the next level? Thirdly and lastly, there was a question that was asked in the recent deliberations over organizational report, financial report, and your political report. There's a question that was asked by a delegate by the name of Malebu Khomo from Libua Khomo about some 1,087,000 that was not recovered back to the organization. That question was not answered when I was listening to the answer. How was that money lost and why was it not recovered? And then secondly, there was also another question that was asked there about the unfairness. That's how the delegate termed it, in terms of the deductions that were taken from councillors after the 2016 local government elections to contribute towards paying off the debt of the election campaign. And the delegate said that was not the case when it comes to the MPs, this particular in the general elections. Is that the case, and why is that the case if it is? Thank you.
Next, Natasha.
Good day, it's Natasha Piri here from the SABC News. So the election of those 35 additional Central Command team members, or the nomination and the elections are going to take place later on today. What caliber of leadership are you expecting? Because yesterday you had said that you hope conference will not use the Central Command team as a dumping site for mediocre people. Secondly, the local government elections are looming. So, I mean, when is the EFF going to start prepare? Well, when is the EFF going to prepare for the local government elections, and particularly looking at the metros? Thank you.
Yes. Sophie Mkwena from the SABC. You have quite a number of EFF organizations from different countries, Liberia, Malawi, Namibia, Kenya. When I spoke to them, they have a strong view that there should be a youth movement on the continent. Have you kind of engaged them and get to a point, perhaps you have a view on this? But also taking into consideration that when you look at the continent, the youth is quite disgruntled with the former liberation organizations. And the mistake one pick up is that the issue of succession has been one of the key issues that has led to liberation organization lacking new ideas, but also being very, very defensive on many matters, particularly at the senior leadership. In your party, as the party that was formed by young people and looking at the future, you, Mr. Malema, are you preparing for succession in your own party? As you have pointed out that you can't have a situation where the party is just Malema, and that when Malema is not there, and then we don't see EFF, or you can't even hardly draw media to look at what the organization is doing, succession on the continent, and particularly in the EFF. And the last one directed to Umpilwe. Umpilwe, 50-50, well and good. Currently on the continent and around the world, when you look at the UN Women, the cry has been leadership, particularly women taking position of leadership, being on the at the table, not pushing others to be at the table if you want to deal with challenges facing the world or the continent in particular. How are you going to ensure that as members of the highest decision-making structure in the EFF, you really, really push issues that are going to change the lives of women, not only in South Africa, but on the continent?
Thank you. Next.
Kotato Marisa from the Sowetan. Perhaps this question is to the new SG, Mr. Dlamini. So a delegate from one of the sub-regions, I believe in the Northwest, raised an issue about EFF members there having issues with non-delivery of membership cards, and they wanted to know if it was possible for, I believe, every region, or yeah, something like every region to print their own cards. Is that something that is possible? How would you, if it is, how would you manage that process? And to the newly elected, well, re-elected deputy president, yes. So, so one of the delegates raised, well, wanted to, what do you call it, was against the adoption of the Treasurer General's report. They were about to explain the issues that they had with the report, but you sort of cut them and you took it to a vote. Of course, the TG's report was adopted by majority, but I was wondering, is it something that's concerning that someone would, would be against the adoption, and would you be are you going to try and give them an ear to find out what concerns they had. Yeah, maybe just engage me on that. Thank you.
Next.
Thank you so much. Thank you. CD, my dear, from News 24. I think to everyone at the table there, congratulations on your re-election. Just have a few questions, and I think also if we touched on a few of them as well around succession. The first question I wanted to ask, there was an issue around the members who had written to the party, to the conference, asking for their membership, the expulsions to be reviewed. Has that been dealt with? I understood that it's going to be carried forward by the new leadership. Where does that stand? And then, you know, there's lots of reactions. Wait, hold on, what was I trying to say? Sorry, there was lots of reactions just around the leadership collective around you, you know. You did say lobbying was allowed. A lot of people last night were saying to me, this really feels like Malema's version of the ANC Youth League. Just want reaction to that. That won't leave you alone. When people speak about your style of leadership, that always comes up. That won't leave you alone. And looking at how this played, some in the EFF themselves say they feel this is your baby, it's your party, and they have no say, you know. Just wanted reaction to that as well. And then even the issue that happened with the DOR, a lot of the delegates we saw as we're going out were speaking about how this is how you treat women. This is how women understand the EFF to treat them. You consistently say there's an issue around the EFF and women, female support. How do you navigate that when women are saying the way you treat women is like this? Thank you.
Yes, next. Next to you? Yeah. Can you take the one behind? Yes.
Hello, my name is Tando. I'm from the Mail and Guardian. Just a question to the SG. So you're head of security and now you've been elected SG. Do you remain head of security or will that role be given to someone else? Second of all, in relation to the DOR, is there any vetting process that goes into appointing the members of the DOR? Are they trained in any way? And then another question to the chairperson. In the organizational report, it's noted that the previous chairperson had a hectic schedule and he had to be recused from several roles. How will you avoid it in your tenure so that you focus on your role as the chairperson of the EFF? Thanks.
Right. So you are covered. Yes. I hope you want to ask about water this time.
No. That question was misunderstood, by the way. Thank you so much. What is the level of compliance on this directive that councillors must buy buggies so they can assist communities? And how far is the EFF willing to go in terms of corrective action where there's clear resistance to the directive? That was my first question. And this one for the CIC, in addressing delegates about this perceived cult of a personality, you call on local EFF leaders, you know, to go out and be so active in communities that they get recognized on their own accord to the extent that they don't rely on national leadership when campaigning for local government elections. Don't you worry that such messaging may perhaps result in the rattling of the tight ship that you often refer to, in the sense of having junior leaders contradicting seniors, structures alike, leaks in the media, such as we are seeing with the two other big parties where leaders are essentially speaking to each other through the media when they sit together in meetings. And lastly, CIC, this is just information on the Marikana Massacre commemoration event. That the confusion you referred to there that was sown by an individual delegate, that actually the outgone SG yesterday went off script when delivering the organizational report and said, as the EFF, we have taken a decision not to attend that event anymore because AMCU had not acknowledged the 1 million rand donation made to the widows of Marikana. That is just information I'm sharing with you. You don't have to react. If you wish to, you can. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to give the leadership a chance to respond because this is a plethora of questions, and then we'll take the rest of the hands in the last round. Excellent.
Thank you. You know, members of the media, you are trying something that is not going to happen. We're not going to discuss our security detail with you. It will never happen. There's nothing here that the DOR is doing which Zonge Zizwe is not doing in the ANC events. Nothing. And then you come here, you want to question our security. Come into my house and want to question my security in my house. And you want to tell me to share with you how I've arranged my house. It's not going to happen. There's nothing wrong with the way we handled our security. It's a security matter. It will never happen. And as to who's going to lead security and all of that, you will get it when we announce it. Can't discuss security with the media in the full view of our enemies. It's not going to happen that. And there is no such a treatment of women in the EFF. No such a thing. It's not true. You are making it up. You are making it up. There's no one who says there is any treatment of women in the EFF. We have been sitting here with our women. Why would our women go and complain to you and not to us? The women that were brought here by us. The women that we have secured ourselves. And then you tell us that our women tell you that we treat them like that. There's no one who can tell us about our members. They are our members. We are responsible for them. And there's no one here who can abuse women and not go unpunished. It will never happen. Let them try, you will see. Like it happened yesterday. A person went and abused our delegates, abused our women, threw pepper spray. It's on the streets now. It's done. The question of security and treating of our delegates in a professional manner, in a respectful manner, in a dignified manner, it's non-negotiable. Our delegates get the best of the best treatment ever. Can't compare this conference with any conference. I've been in all conferences of all political formations, including that one of COPE, if you don't know. I was there. I was there. I was there. I was not a delegate. I was doing my things. I was there. Sophie's shaking her head. She says I was not there. I was there. I was there. So I know all these conferences. So you can't tell me women are being treated badly. Where? Which conference has ever given women sanitary pads? In preparation of a conference, you are preoccupied with issues of women as a political formation because they are very special to you. You know they must be treated very well with respect. So as you prepare, you leave everything and pay specific attention on women because their issues are forever with us. So the battling with getting women in the EFF has got nothing to do with DOR. Nothing at all. It's a matter that the leadership of the EFF must look into. Again, I was elected president of COSAS. I was very young, unopposed. What are you telling me? I was elected president of COSAS, young, unopposed. I went into the conference of the Youth League in Limpopo. They contested me, and then I won. Subsequent to that, no one ever contested me. It's not EFF, it's the Youth League. I found it there, I didn't come with it. With old people, MECs and all of that. When I got elected, the secretary of the Youth League, how old was I? Was I 18, 19, 20, somewhere there? With old people. Contested me, I defeated them. They lodged a complaint. The ANC said, no, conference went well. Subsequent to that, no one contested me. Why? because I was dictator to these MECs and these elderly people that were way older than me. People who were there long before me. I'm a dictator to them. When I got elected the secretary of the Youth League, Mbalula didn't want me, Malusi Gigaba didn't want me, Zizi Godwa didn't want me. Out of my work ethics, they said, this boy, even if you don't like him, you can't falter him when it comes to hard work in the organization. They changed against their own people who were disrupting PEC meetings of the Youth League. They turned against them and said, what is your problem? Why don't you want this guy? Because this guy organizes Youth League events in this province. Mbalula even made a point that since this guy got elected the Youth League secretary in this province, I've never addressed empty chairs like I used to before. Those are the people who didn't want me to be the secretary of the Youth League, but came to accept that this guy, you may have problems with him, but when it comes to the organization, it's proper. We went to be contested in Mangaung for president of the Youth League. We won. The conference got adjourned, and I said to Castle and them, I said, the mistake they are going to make is to say this top 5, was it top 5, Lloyd? Top 5 must organize the second leg of the conference, because if they do that, that conference is going to run smooth and there won't be contest. They made that mistake of allowing us to organize the second leg of the conference. In that short space of time, I traveled this country, established proper structures of the Youth League, make sure delegates are proper, they are in order, everyone confirms that these are our delegates and all. We came here in Nazareth here. There was no contest, nothing. Because I was a dictator of ministers, including the ANC mother body. I was a dictator of president and the top 6 of the ANC. I was a dictator. This, when we came here to conclude the conference of the Youth League, we did that with the help of the ANC team, which was given to us to reinforce that top 5 of the Youth League, to organize the last leg of the Youth League. I was dictating to those elderly people. I was dictating to the president. Come on, man. Come on, man. Stop being lazy thinkers. Why would this guy be a dictator of old people? My simple thing of being re-elected unopposed, or all the time being elected unopposed, is very simple. I work very hard. I work very hard. I don't take anything for granted. You give it to me, I will work on it and perfect it. I pay attention to the smallest detail. I know everything that is happening in this conference. Smallest detail. Even if you want to hate me, you'll come to accept that, no, but it doesn't matter what we think of him. So I'm not a dictator, I'm a hard worker. I work hard. I come from nothing. I didn't dictate to anybody to be where I am here. I come from nothing. I come from a domestic worker who suffered from epilepsy, single mother. I worked my way up here, single-handedly, knowing where I come from. So I don't care who thinks what about me, nothing. Because I know everything else I have, I've worked for it and I've earned it. It is those who can't defeat me who call me names that I'm a dictator. Better, when it comes to conference, better. When it comes to conference, better against you. Better ugaraunyaka wemisha bat bar second, but basa second ugaraunyaka ba emisha mator comrades. Better religious baby. Kasal Matale when he was elected chairperson of the ANC in Limpopo for the last time, before he got dissolved in government. They had a conference in Limpopo, I don't know. I think that one there with a white hat at the corner there. Magoleo will know he was there. Everyone had concluded Castle lost that conference. This one came to the conference on the day he said, he called me, he said, this guy is lost. He got very scared and he even left. He left the conference. He said, we lost. This conference, they've taken it over. I said to him, it will never happen. You will see what's going to happen. We doubled the effort in that conference. Got the women of the Women's League. Turned around the balance of forces in that conference. The Women's League had a caucus at the student center. They moved from the student center to the hall. That morning, Floyd, when he called me, said, we are not going to win here. Now I'm leaving. This conference is gone. I met those women in their black and green uniform. And then I knew it's gone. We're killing them. Let's go. So was I dictating to ANC delegates then? When Zuma got elected president, shaking, scared, we said to him, old man, don't be scared. We're taking this thing. We went to him and told him in his face, must never be scared. It's in the pocket, President. We took it. No one believed. We were sitting in town there when Mbegi's people were caucusing at the stadium in Polokwane. We got called and they said, Mbegi has taken everybody. This conference is gone. We came back running. Consolidated forces had a caucus next to the door of the main hall. It was a tent. When the Mbegi people came back from the stadium, going into the hall, they got a shock of their life. Waking the ground. What matters is not how much money you have. Money accounts to nothing. Do you have the capacity to work the ground? If you're going to engage in elitist politics of tweeting and imagining Matorokis and Mapiano on Twitter, those of us who are on the ground, we just look at you and say, look at this clown. We know what's going to happen. We are on the ground. We are not scared of the ground. That's why during elections, I can do 4 or 5 provinces in 1 day, 2 days. No one does that. Because I've got a vision, I know what needs to be done. The battle must be fought on the ground, not in the media. I don't care what the media thinks of me. The media wrote me off long time ago. Long time ago, you all wrote my obituary, finished me off. You're sitting here with me today. After you wrote me off, I died many times. I'm a ghost. Because you buried me. That's why you can't imagine this thing that this guy, we keep on finishing him off, but he comes back and comes back and comes back. Those VBS things and Matorokis things and divisions in the EFFs that we must finish Malema. By the time they arrive there, they must go and kill each other. Where? Didn't happen. More conferencing. Because your imagination has misled you. We're in charge here. We're not playing games. So we don't have a problem. The additionals will be elected. In my input, I made a point that we need quality. It's not a dumping area. It's not a dumping area. EFF in Africa, in our report, we said we should look at the possibility of forming a continental body of the EFF. And that will include women and the youth. So, and I said the EFF doesn't belong to Umlazi, Lewahomu, or anywhere else in South Africa. It belongs to the entire African continent. Our vision is not these small-minded things you're thinking about. We want to lead Africa. We want a united state of Africa with one currency, with one economy, with one parliament, with one president, with one judiciary. where all member states will be held accountable. We want Africa to be one. This South Africa is just a starting point. And why? Because political freedom came from up there in the north. The economic freedom must come from the south, going up there. So there's no confusion about this continent. That's why when a person attacks fellow Africans, we get extremely worried, because it contradicts what we represent as the EFF, which is the unity of Africa. In the organizational report, the SG says we found a company that has promised us to produce membership cards within a month or so. The same company gave a proposal of decentralizing the membership system, allowing regions as well to process the membership and print membership cards and all. It's things that we are going to discuss in this thing. Now, there's no, so this is the procedure of the conference. People debate. After debating, we call for those who move for adoption of the Treasurer's report, raise your hand. You stand up and say your name and say, I adopt. Then someone must come and second you. Then the other one must say, I oppose. And then someone must second the opposing. There is no motivation. If you are not malicious, you should then ask the question, why the person who's adopting is not asked for reasons why he's adopting, if the one who's objecting must give reasons. The reasons were given during debate. So politicians are very smart. When they realize that they didn't get a chance to speak during the debate, and now is the time to adopt, they say, I object, and then start talking. It's not necessarily objecting. He wants to speak because he didn't speak before. So he's now maneuvering their way into speaking. So when it comes to that part, you don't allow motivation and demotivation. It's just objection, seconder, adopting, seconder. If there is objection seconded, then we take it to a vote. Then we close it like that, because you are not going to reopen another debate. We had that debate before. People were given an opportunity to speak. The expulsions are coming. The committee is busy with those issues. This conference, before it closes, it will give a report. Am I done? I think so. Yeah, there was a question to Marshall. Oh, the security one, yeah, we'll deal with it. And then Maoleo, I didn't know that the SG said that. I don't think I was in the hall when he said we took a decision to boycott AMCU event. I was not there. But he's saying it's an information. I don't know if you guys were you there deeply?
No. I think SG was talking to him.
Oh, he was.
Yeah.
He's your source.
Around the vehicles that councillors must buy buggies, I've realized that
Or
not
the
all of them
MPs.
No,
are-
that's fine.
Yeah, and the question of the
Yeah,
cult of a-
50-50.
No, the cult of a personality, to say how do you have stronger EFF leaders without having the chaos of them contradicting higher structures and media leaks and so on. Thank you.
Succession. The EFF constitution is very clear on succession. Succession is covered by conferences. That's where leaders go and get elected. Anyone who wants to be elected, you go to a conference, you get elected, or they don't elect you. But in terms of building second and third layer leadership, we have invested in the student command. There's a strong lobby for the youth command. We are now building a women's command. So all of that will be the feeders of future leaders of the EFF. So if you want to ask me if I will be available for the next term, it will depend on delegates. I will answer that question when the third National People's Assembly come. But I'm still very young, you see. I'm still very energetic. So let's talk about it on the third one. And then, Magoleo, all public representatives, not councillors, all, including me, we must have buggies. All of us. And I told, was it Kathy, that I've got a buggy. She comes from very remote rural villages. One day she must park in town there in Polokwane, and I'll put her in the buggy and take her home in a village there. So I've got a buggy which can go anywhere. So the idea is that you must mobilize the tools to work for the revolution. So that when we say to you, why didn't you build a branch there? You must not say, I don't have transport to go there because my car is too small to go there. And one delegate said, though they must not just buy buggies. They must make those buggies available to us so that we can work the ground. A very good, powerful, suggestion. I take the criticism on councillors that we took their 50% for the next 3 months and we didn't take the 50% of MPs and MPLs. The Treasurer General, they just gave you an idea of how you can quickly raise some money to settle this thing. So you must start with Mbuiseni's salary and cut 50% for the next 3 months. It's a fair criticism. They are right. I mean, you can't do it to the ones, and those ones west, they are not even earning much. And you leave the big bosses. So let's try and look into that. It's a fair criticism. I accept that. 1 million, yeah. 1 million disappeared in Mpumalanga and Northern Cape. All those people are gone from the EFF, and we opened cases. If you read, Stolle will be able to tell you next to you. If he read the Treasurer's report, we said we opened a case. Yeah, you saw that in the report of Treasurer. We opened cases. We even give a narrative in the. Oh, you were not there. Yeah. You were not there. Yeah, you don't have copies. So there is a report of the Treasurer which is available, given to everyone. So these reports are two. There is the narrative one which is there, and there is an oral one which gets presented in the plenary. So in the report, we say cases were opened, and we have a problem with police because the police have not arrested, and when we try to follow up, police are not saying anything. So we open cases against those people who took the EFF money. Yeah, so I think come again? Or preparations of local government will start immediately after our plenum next year when we come. So when we come back next year, the first meeting is plenum. We clean up the the resolutions, and then we prepare a report of the conference. Then we start the preparations of the of elections. Mami? Chairperson. You want Chairperson to tell us how?
No, they were asking about the availability.
Yeah. Yeah, she says the national chair was too busy in the past. That's what the report said, and not available. So they are asking if you are going to be available and not commit a similar mistake.
The unavailability of the former national chair will attribute it to his legal career, and he was not a deployee in the organization. I am available to the organization full-time. I guess that's why the delegates decided that I must now assume the position of the national chair. Some of you who know how Parliament operates will know I am there full-time, and I'm on the ground full-time. I've ran elections of the EFF, being the national election spokesperson for 2016 and 2019. Therefore, it's two different things. I'm available full-time. Thanks.
But the other thing is that all these officials here are available full-time in the EFF. Our DSG is a councillor, Marshall is the MP, DP MP, President MP, National Chair MP, TG MP. So there won't be an excuse of not doing work on the basis of other responsibilities outside what the organization demand of all of us here.
President, I'm of the opinion that for the sake of time, we should stop it here because there'll be an opportunity later on when we deal with commission reports because it's about 3 o'clock now.
Yeah, there's no opportunity for me. I'm not coming back here. So
That
I'm
is,
done.
that is true. Okay.
I'm done with you.
Let's start with
I've had
where
enough.
the mic is. You'll be number 1, Chief, and then number 2, number 3, Busi, and then we'll end with Yan Yan. Yan Yan, you just walked in. All right. When you are done, you just give it to Yan Yan because it's closer to you. Yeah. Can we not ask 8 questions per person as well? You know what I mean? Yes. Let's go.
Afternoon, my name is Kaya Koko, I'm from the Star. I just want to find out whether conference is seized with the issue of the disparity between launching branches and those that remain with 100+ member renewals. This is for the SG and the president as well. Even where the SG comes from, in KwaZulu-Natal, I think 783 branches were launched in the period under review, but only 271 met the 100+ renewal. So that's in the organizational report, by the way. What are the issues with launching branches and remaining with them? And what is the EFF going to do to make sure that all branches which are launched keep its members? Thank you.
Okay, Yan Yan.
Thank you. Dr. Ndlozi, through you to Mr. Malema. It's a policy question which I didn't ask yesterday. Is that okay?
Yeah, go shoot.
Okay. It's on traditional leadership. In your in that 250-page policy document, there are 2 views expressed on traditional leadership, and I don't think either is decided upon. The one is the one that you spoke about yesterday, that traditional leaders must be respected, and, well, you know what you said. The second is a sort of more left-wing view, which says that it's a feudal system which has served its purpose and is terrible on the rights of women. What is the status of that situation? Because you will know it will have political repercussions.
Okay. Independent.
Sifiso Mahlangu, Independent Media. President Malema, 2 questions. I want to get your feedback concerning the public protector so far as the ABSA bailout report is concerned. The CIX report is still hanging, and the public protector found an adverse finding by the court against her. In your support of the public protector, as you have often spoken in the past about going after ABSA, are you going to continue in the approach to a CIX report to gain the monies that ABSA took away from the apartheid government? My second question refers to President Cyril Ramaphosa. Yesterday, you mentioned that President Ramaphosa has sold the country. They are selling the SOEs, him and his friend, Mr. Pravin Gordhan, also known as Jim Nandis. Are you going to are you going to attempt a vote of no confidence in Parliament against President Ramaphosa, stating by your words yesterday how you were aggrieved by him selling the country to the highest bidder? I think those comments are very strong if you relate them to a head of state. My question is, are you going to attempt a vote of no confidence? Thank you very much.
Yes, Busi.
Busi Chimambe from the SABC. A very quick one. I was listening to the discussions about the policy documents that were delivered yesterday, and what struck me is that there was very little comment and very few proposals regarding your cardinal pillar, land and agrarian reform and expropriation without compensation. It made me wonder whether the rank and file of the party have got a complete understanding of the detail of the policy, or perhaps alternatively, whether a very complete understanding and therefore uncontested. I'd like to hear what your assessment is of that.
Okay, that concludes the hands. Right,
No,
President.
The land issue is no longer a debate in the EFF. So there is no need for any, if Floyd stands there and speaks about land, what am I going to say when I stand up to say what? Because we are agreed. There's a clear vision of how and what should happen to the land. So we don't even get shocked by why delegates have not engaged much on it. But equally that we gave a detailed report of how far are we with regard to the cardinal pillar number 1, that we have managed without being in government to get parliament to agree to amend section 25 of the Constitution to allow expropriation of land without compensation. And that committee, as we speak now, is busy drafting the law, the final report, which will be presented to Parliament. And Yan asked yesterday, that was it yesterday? Yeah, that did you make an input in the final report? And the Deputy President decided to keep quiet because he tells us when we leave here that he was shocked by Yan's question because he went to make the presentation himself to the committee. Yan was there, even asked for a copy from him and still asked the question, did you make it? I was like, why? Why did you allow him to do that? Because they have clarified him, or what are you talking about? Because I even gave you a copy of our submission there. So there's a very clear policy of land in the EFF. There's no motion of no confidence we're going to pass on the president. Motions of no confidence are a last resort. The first immediate task which we proposed yesterday is that we must take to the streets as forces of the left in defense of state-owned enterprises, which the president and his cabal wants to sell to white monopoly capital. You can't, every time you disagree with the president, the first thing you do is to go to the computer and amend Zuma's name and put Ramaphosa and say, yeah, let's go. We can't. We must mobilize the ground and the left forces against capital. Because state is a contested terrain. If the left forces are not going to occupy the picket lines in defense of the asset which is there for the benefit of the working class, then the right-wing elements will not wait for us. They will do what is in their interest. And they are doing exactly what is in their interest because the left forces are disintegrated. So we are making a plea for the left forces to unite. Can you imagine a march of the EFF, NUMSA, AMCU, SAFTU? We can shake this country. And AMCU president of AMCU came, spoke about putting aside egos. President of GS of SAFTU came, spoke about putting aside egos. We said a similar thing. We said, let's now come together. So 2020 is going to be a year of action. The left forces united at the picket lines. The first action must be directed at ESCOM. No one is going to sell ESCOM under our watch. We're not going to allow that. And we invite everyone who is on the side of the working class to come and occupy the picket lines with us in defense of the people's assets. We disagreed with Busi Mkwebane on that report of ABSA. And therefore, we're not involved with her in those things. It's her own problem. That's why we said in our report, every case of the public protector must be dealt with on the basis of its merits, not as a blanket thing that she got ABSA wrong, therefore everything else is wrong. No, we can't. ABSA might be wrong, but Jamnandas is right. She might have got ABSA wrong, but she got Jamnandas right. She got Ramaphosa right. like all judges and magistrates. They get other cases wrong and get other cases right. Why are you not calling for their removal? Because truly enjoys some sort of privileges of judges. You can't treat her differently from judges. You can't. She's going to make mistakes from time to time. And when she makes mistakes, we'll go for her. When she's right, we'll congratulate her and agree with her. It's the same point I made about Chief Justice Mogoeng. He is a man of integrity. It's a man of honor. But it doesn't mean one day he will not make a mistake about a judgment. We'll criticize it. But those with a brain the size of a peanut are going to say, floppy, ning, they said the Chief Justice is a man of honor. It doesn't matter if you are a man of honor. If you get the law wrong, we'll tell you, no, this one is not right. We are looking at the Constitutional Court, by the way. Now, on that case, we have taken to them on the suspension of the remedial actions of the public protector. We told the court through our lawyer that you were very clear on Nkanda, and you can't be wishy-washy now. So you can't be cold on Zuma and then lukewarm on Ramaphosa and Jamnandas. It can't be. The law must be the law. We need consistency, that's all. That's all we want. We need our judges to be consistent. We need a constitutional court that is consistent. It was that court which said to the whole country, you can't just treat remedial actions of the public protector as mere remedial actions. And you know, interestingly, our favorite guy, the Mbuyisen, in the JAFTA, is it JAFTA, in the Constitutional Court, says the public protector can't tell the president what to do. Ebana. It was JAFTA mus ning here with the Constitutional Court saying to President, you must implement Commission of Inquiry on State Capture as recommended by the public protector. It was the same court. Today, the same court says you can't tell the president what to do. But Tuli told the president what to do. That's why we've got a commission of inquiry. Tuli told the president to reprimand ministers, and Zuma complied and said, I therefore reprimand you. Today we are told by the same court that you can't tell the president what to do. When the same court told the president, you cannot treat her remedial actions as mere remedial actions. We are waiting for their judgment. Let's see. Let's see if that court is also captured by Ramaphoria and the so-called New Dawn. The law is the law. There is no old dawn or a new dawn. There is no old Vaseline or the new Vaseline. The law is the law. Let them stick to the law. Otherwise, this country is gone. It's not true that this country is carried on its shoulders by Xhosa people. No, this country is carried on the shoulders by Chief Justice Mogoeng. It is only that guy who's carrying this country on his shoulders. And if that guy can falter with that constitutional court, we're finished. It's done. Now I'm going to Mozambique. I'm leaving. Because once the courts can take political sides, we're all gone. We're finished. The Chief Justice is the one who's carrying us here. Not Trevor Noah, not Miss Universe. We are carried by that constitutional court. Parliament is finished. The executive is finished. The only arm of the state that still enjoys some credibility is the judiciary. And that's what carries us. And if the judiciary is going to play into politics, forget. But thanks God, The only thing Zuma left us with, which is positive, is Chief Justice. Don't pretend like Chief Justice was not appointed by Msholos. This guy who's carrying us on his shoulders was appointed by Msholos. So, and we're not going to be scared to criticize judgments that look suspicious. There's no contradiction. The thing you're referring to in the documents is a discussion document, which the conference must still reflect if there is a role of the traditional leaders moving forward and all of that. But the argument I'm putting forward is that we are in Africa and we are organized differently as Africans. So you've got these custodians of culture and customs, and the people who are presiding over our rural communities, who become the immediate link between those with power and the rural mass. And those people should be respected. And in the same spirit, say to them, you ought to continue to work for the people and not for yourself and your families. So we believe there's still some role that traditional leaders can still play, because we must not allow a situation where our customs, our cultures, and our tradition disappear, and those customs and traditions of white people remain intact and pure, and ours look like they are backward and they shouldn't be a practice. If we allow that, we'll become a lost nation. So there's really no contradictions. You will know that as you discuss issues, you look into the future. Will they still have the role in the future? With the type of development we're subjected to in the world and in the country, can we still say this is another institution which will provide leadership in the future? The conference will respond to that when it meets here today. Thank you very much, members of the media, and thank you for remaining and continue to cover our National People's Assembly. Thank you.
Thank you, President. Mr. President, we are going to session for the part that involves them. So you are all invited to go into plenary so that you can witness the taking of additional nominations for additional members of the Central Command team. Thank you very much.
What?